This is the year of the political outsider. This primary election has turned out in a way that no one could have ever predicted. Jeb Bush and the rest of the establishment candidates can't get traction, and my next guest says that this is the year for you. Yes, you to run for political office. Former congressional candidate and political guru Nomiki Konst joins me now. Nomiki, welcome back to America Trends. Good to have you, my friend.
Hey there. How you doing?
Doing well. This column is cracking me up. You said in your column today at The Hill that our New Year's resolution should just be to go ahead and run for office. Why do you say that, Nomiki?
Well, you know, every couple of years or so, there's a set of races that open up across the country, from the congressional level all the way down to the city council level to, you know, the dog catcher. You know, these races all line up, and this is one of those years. 2016 is a big year for local elections, obviously national elections as well, and that can swing local elections. So, you know, there are plenty of opportunities. There are hundreds of thousands of races available, tens of thousands of seats open. And there's some opportunities where people can run against candidates that incumbents who may be redistricted, who may be termed out soon. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities for people to jump into the race. But what's important is that you know what you're doing before you do it, because there are a lot of people who like to jump in these races but don't know what they're getting into as first-time candidates, and they're being scammed into consulting, and they're raising money and oozing the money. And you even see with the presidential candidates. So. The column today that we published is a how-to guide to be an outsider candidate and be successful, because that's what's key.
I seriously hope, and you and I hail from different sides of the aisle, and we have a lot of fun with that, but I seriously hope that every candidate who's considering running will consider this column, because my husband was a senator, as you know, in Missouri, and I really people write to me, I'm sure they do this to you, Nomiki, all the time too. They write to me and they say, Dr. Gina, I'm thinking about running. And most of them I say, that's a horrible idea, frankly, because you do have to have the money available. And there's also the people who've never run for political office and all of a sudden they decide they're going to run for Congress. And I'm like, you're not going to win. And you're going to spend a lot of money hurting yourself and perhaps hurting a halfway decent incumbent, I don't know, hurting your family, and you're going to ultimately lose. And that's depressing to me. So it is important. What are the main factors, Nomiki, if someone's really considering running, that you'd say have to be in place? Oh, we lost her.
I'm here.
That was such a great question. Did you hear any of it? Nomiki, what are the top factors that you would say people have to have in place before they can run? Go ahead.
So the number one thing that you should look into is, why are you running? You know, there are presidential candidates who still to this day can't answer that question. And it's the first thing that your supporters are going to ask. It's the first thing that, you know, when you call up and you ask for donations in those first few weeks, people are going to ask. It's what consultants are going to ask. It's what party leaders are going to ask. And if you don't know why you're running, either for yourself or publicly while you're running, because you need to kind of know both of those things, then you have to question why you're in the race. Another thing is, it's not about you. It's actually about the people. It's about us. You know, in what way are you going to make a difference in everyday people's lives? And I think a lot of people jump into office thinking, well, you know, I'm qualified. I ran a Fortune 500 company, or, you know, people know who I am, or I've got a great network. But that doesn't mean you're going to win. And that shows to the American people. I think that it's pretty obvious. You know, the third thing that we mentioned is to pick the right race to run. There could be redistricting that is in favor of your party, could be in favor of a new candidate. There could be somebody who's retiring, or a scandal that pops up. There could be a situation where you have, you know, two people who are similar to each other running against each other, and if you jump in, it could be opportunistic to you. We get into that a little bit more into the article, so if you have a chance to take a look into that. And, you know, it takes an army, so you have to have your support system in place. You have to have, when I ran for office, some of the things that I struggled with were, because the establishment was sort of at odds against me, building that army was about finding people on college campuses, finding people who are willing to challenge the institution. So know who your army could be. And it's not just your friends and family, it really goes beyond that. And that, you know, that comes after you decide what you're going to do, how you're going to run, and how you message it out there. And the most important thing is your experience, your story. What makes you so special? Why are you that person who's going to fill that seat? And a lot of that comes down to your background. For women, it's a different type of storytelling for men and women. There's been a lot of studies behind that. So, do your research, figure out what type of message about your personal background works for the audience. For women, it's not just reciting a resume, it's talking about what you do for the future generations. For men, it is a lot of resume, talking about your resume. So, all these things factor into a good outsider candidate.
And I would just add to the end of that, and money, 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 and money. That's pretty much it, because I think a lot of people fantasize. They're going to run. They don't have any money. They don't know where they're going to get the money to run. They think all their friends are going to write big fat checks. But unless they're traditional donors who have written big checks to other campaigns, they're probably not going to. And this is coming from political experience. I'm sure you experienced that as well. Nomiki, I have to ask you. I've been dying to ask you this, actually, ever since I watched the press conference yesterday with the president. The tears, were they real?
Of course they were real. I mean, have we really gotten to that point in society where we have to question a politician tearing up? I mean, listen, if he was that good at faking it, he would have been faking a lot of other things along the way. He would have been faking, the cool factor that people criticize him for. He would have been showing up and playing more Bill Clinton than Barack Obama. I mean,
yeah, you can't really fake the mom jeans, wearing like trendy hip jeans well, and he has never faked that well. So I think I'm with you. I think it was real then. I know, that was terrible. I'm sorry, Nomiki. All right, Nomiki, I have to ask you, too, about Gary Johnson. He's trending today. He threw his hat in the ring for the Libertarian nomination for president. What effect will he have on the election, do you think?
I think there was a time and place for Gary Johnson, and he's one of the most successful third candidate to run in presidential races in the past 15, 20 years, which isn't really saying that much, to be fair. The last person that was 2000, I think, was the last time we had a really successful third-party nominee. I think he needs to read my column, maybe take some of that advice. Presidential races are getting locked up earlier and earlier. I mean, if Joe Biden couldn't do it for the Democratic nomination, I don't really see how Gary Johnson, who's basically irrelevant now, nobody's heard about him in the past 10 years. I don't know how he's going to put a dent into the race, even if he is libertarian, because there are you still have Rand Paul, who's probably the most libertarian-leaning candidate in the race right now. He's probably not going to win the nomination, but he could easily jump into the libertarian seat. But it's not going to be a Ross Perot year. I mean,
it doesn't feel like
Ross
that.
Perot candidate, it's Donald Trump.
No, exactly. All right, Nomiki, well, listen, thank you so much for being with us here on America Trends. We appreciate you, and happy 2016 to you.
Happy New Year. Thanks.
Thank you. Up next, we're going to talk to